Once in a land of grand opulence and untold riches, there lived a man who had everything. He owned luxurious cars, sprawling estates, the finest clothes, and lived a life most could only dream of. His name was Prince Olumide, and he was the heir to one of the wealthiest empires in the kingdom. People adored him from afar, but they all loved him for one thing: the wealth he controlled. The grand banquets, the lavish parties, and the extravagant lifestyle that he showcased were all a display of his immense power and fortune. But despite all the wealth, there was one thing Prince Olumide couldn't find: true love. Do you believe true love can exist beyond money and status? Comment below and share your thoughts. In his younger years, he believed that a woman would love him for the man he was, not for the gold and jewels he could offer. He had fallen in love with a woman once, a beautiful woman who had loved him in return, or so he thought. But when the relationship ended in heartache, he realized something that would change him forever. She had never truly loved him, she loved his money. The betrayal cut deeper than he had ever expected. From that moment on, he promised himself that he would never allow his wealth to define his relationships. As the years passed, Olumide grew more reclusive. He surrounded himself only with the trappings of wealth, not trusting anyone enough to allow them close. His friends were no longer friends. They were sycophants who showered him with praise and admiration, only because he could buy their loyalty. The more he distanced himself from people, the lonelier he became. The glitz and glamour of his lifestyle seemed to mock him now, reminding him daily of the emptiness he felt inside. One cold evening, as he sat alone in his mansion, a thought crossed his mind. What if he could find someone who would love him, not for his wealth but for who he truly was? What if he could find someone who saw beyond the mansions, the cars, and the designer clothes? He wanted to know if true love existed beyond the boundaries of his riches. One cold evening, as he sat alone in his mansion, a thought crossed his mind. What if he could find someone who would love him, not for his wealth but for who he truly was? What if he could find someone who saw beyond the mansions, the cars, and the designer clothes? He wanted to know if true love existed beyond the boundaries of his riches. And so, the idea came to him, a brilliant yet daring plan. He would disguise himself as a beggar, leave behind the comforts of his lavish lifestyle, and live as an ordinary man for a while. He would test the people around him, especially women, to see if anyone would love him for who he really was, not for the man they thought he was. In the dead of night, Olumide made his preparations. He shaved his head, donned ragged clothes, and smeared dirt across his face. He took off his expensive wristwatch and hid his phone away. With nothing but a small bag of coins, he stepped out of his mansion and into the cold, dark streets. For the first time in years, he felt free. Free from the burden of his wealth, free from the expectations of his status. He was just another man on the streets, another face in the crowd. But in his heart, he carried the weight of his plan, to find true love, to find someone who would love him for him. Days turned into weeks, and Olumide found himself living in the shadow of his own existence. He slept in alleyways, begged for food, and ate scraps discarded by others. It was a far cry from the life he once knew, and yet, there was something liberating about it. He felt as though the world was seeing him for who he truly was. No longer was he the billionaire heir, he was just another struggling man trying to survive. During this time he encountered many people, some kind, others cruel. He witnessed the callousness of the wealthy as they walked past him, avoiding eye contact as if he were invisible. He saw the desperation in the eyes of fellow beggars, their lives as empty as his had once felt. But in the midst of this struggle, one person stood out. Her name was Amina, and she was nothing like the women he had known. She was young, vibrant, and full of life. Amina worked at a small market near the city square selling vegetables, fruits, and homemade goods. Her stall was modest, but her spirit was rich in kindness. Every morning she would pass by Olumide, offering him a warm smile and sometimes a piece of bread. During this time he encountered many people, some kind, others cruel. He witnessed the callousness of the wealthy as they walked past him, avoiding eye contact as if he were invisible. He saw the desperation in the eyes of fellow beggars, their lives as empty as his had once felt. But in the midst of this struggle, one person stood out. Her name was Amina, and she was nothing like the women he had known. She was young, vibrant, and full of life. Amina worked at a small market near the city square, selling vegetables, fruits, and homemade goods. Her stall was modest, but her spirit was rich in kindness. Every morning she would pass by Olumide, offering him a warm smile and sometimes a piece of bread. She never treated him with disdain or pity. Instead, she treated him as if he were just another person, someone worthy of her attention. At first, Olumide was hesitant. He couldn't believe that someone like Amina, with her pure heart and simple life, would ever take notice of someone like him. But she kept coming back, day after day, with her bright smile and kind gestures. Slowly, he began to open up to her, telling her bits and pieces of his life, though he still kept his true identity a secret. As the days turned into weeks, Olumide found himself drawn to Amina in a way he had never been drawn to anyone before. She didn't care about his money, his fame, or his status. She didn't ask him for anything in return. All she wanted was to know him, to talk with him, to share her day with him. Her sincerity was something he had never experienced before, and for the first time in a long while he felt seen. But even as Olumide's feelings for Amina deepened, he knew he couldn't keep his secret forever. Sooner or later, the truth would come out. Would she still love him when she learned the truth, or would she feel betrayed? But even as Olumide's feelings for Amina deepened, he knew he couldn't keep his secret forever. Sooner or later, the truth would come out. Would she still love him when she learned the truth, or would she feel betrayed? One fateful day, Olumide's secret was revealed in the most unexpected way. As he was helping Amina with her stall, a group of his old friends, high society elites, walked past. They stopped, recognizing him immediately, though he was now dressed in ragged clothes and his face was covered in dirt. Friend 1, Olumide, what on earth are you doing here? Amina, who had been unaware of Olumide's true identity, turned to see the confusion on his face. Before he could speak, one of his friends added, Friend 2, don't tell me you've fallen for this girl, Olumide. You're the prince, for goodness sake. Amina's face fell. She looked from Olumide to his friends, and the realization hit her like a ton of bricks. She had been living with a lie, falling in love with someone who had never been honest with her. Olumide could see the hurt in her eyes and his heart shattered. He tried to explain, to tell her that he had disguised himself not to deceive her, but to test if anyone would love him for who he truly was. But the damage had already been done. Amina's trust in him had been broken. I can't believe you would do this. You lied to me. You used me. Olumide felt as though his world was crumbling. He had spent so long hiding behind his wealth, afraid to show his true self, and now he had lost the one person who had ever truly seen him. But as Amina walked away, something inside him shifted. He realized that he couldn't let her go, not without trying to prove that his feelings for her were real. He had spent so long hiding behind his wealth, afraid to show his true self, and now he had lost the one person who had ever truly seen him. But as Amina walked away, something inside him shifted. He realized that he couldn't let her go, not without trying to prove that his feelings for her were real. The next morning, Olumide did something he never thought he would do. He walked to the city square where the Grand Palace stood, and he sold everything he owned, the mansions, the cars, the jewels. He gave it all away, donating the money to charities, helping the poor, and rebuilding homes for those who had none. He took nothing but the clothes on his back and walked away from the life he had known. He returned to Amina's market stall where she was still selling her goods. Olumide, I've given up everything. The wealth, the power, it means nothing now. I did it because I love you, not because of what you can give me, but because of who you are. Please, give me a chance to prove that. Amina stood there, shocked by his transformation. Slowly, her anger began to fade, replaced by something else, understanding. She saw the sincerity in his eyes, the raw emotion in his voice. And in that moment, she knew that this was the man she had fallen in love with. I believe you, Illumide, and I love you. True love can change everything. Money, status, power, they all become irrelevant when the heart speaks louder. If you believe in the power of real love, leave a comment below and share your story with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartfelt African tales. True love can change everything. Money, status, power, they all become irrelevant when the heart speaks louder. If you believe in the power of real love, leave a comment below and share your story with us. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartfelt African tales. And so, the billionaire who had once disguised himself as a beggar to find true love, found it in the most unexpected place, at the heart of a humble woman who saw him not for his wealth, but for the man he truly